the Hollywood Unapologetic Podcast with Orlando Delbert, Filmmaking Essentials. Okay, let's dig into something pretty fascinating today, a real paradox in the film world. We're seeing this huge democratization of filmmaking. Like anyone can pick up a camera, edit on a laptop.
The tools are everywhere now.
Exactly. But then you hear people saying, and this kicked off a whole discussion online, that this very accessibility is actually making it harder to succeed.
Right, because the barrier to entry is, well, it's almost gone in some way.
It's plummeted.
Yeah.
But that just means there's this tidal wave of content out there. So the question becomes, how do you even get seen? How do you stand out?
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that the technical skill, while obviously still important, it's almost become table stakes, The big differentiator isn't just, can you make something that looks like a film, but why should someone watch your film specifically?
Oh, okay. And that leads us right into personal branding, doesn't it?
It really does. It's become crucial.
Self-brand management. We're talking about this new Hollywood generation, filmmakers, content creators.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, maybe you're prepping for a meeting, catching up on industry trends, or you're just curious, understanding how to build your own brand is, well, it's vital now. Things are changing so fast.
Definitely. And we've pulled together some really interesting sources for you. We'll look at why some creators are resistant to thinking like a business. The role, maybe the limited role, of traditional business plans for filmmakers.
Right.
Strategies for personal branding that actually work, and also some of the psychological hurdles, how we sometimes sabotage ourselves.
Yeah, the self-sabotage thing is fascinating. So our mission really is to understand why this business mindset, this strategic approach, is so necessary today for filmmakers.
And why some people push back against it.
Exactly. And importantly, how to spot those self-defeating habits and, break free. So let's jump back to that democratization paradox first. It really sets the stage.
Yeah, that Reddit point you mentioned really nails the shift. Cheaper gear, easier access. It's flattened the technical side of things dramatically.
Someone was saying, just a few decades back, just making a color film with okay sound was a big deal.
Oh, absolutely. Now, digital tools mean almost anyone can achieve that baseline technical quality.
Right. Think back to the early 2000s. Even those super low-budget experimental films could be shot digitally, look pretty polished.
Look like a real movie, yeah.
Whereas just 5 years before that, you were talking expensive film stock or like standard definition video. The amount of content being made now is just huge.
Exponentially bigger. And that's the core problem or challenge anyway. When the marketplace is just saturated, just being technically competent isn't enough.
It doesn't cut through the noise.
Not at all. Differentiation is key. How do you make your work, and by extension, you as the creator, stand out? How do you find your audience?
It really ramps up the pressure, doesn't it?
It does. And it underlines why filmmakers need that strong, recognizable personal brand. When the tools are common, your unique brand is what makes the difference.
Okay, but the whole idea of a filmmaker as a brand, I could see how that might feel a bit, commercial or corporate to some artists.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely resistance. We found this piece that talks about encountering people in the indie film scene.
Yeah.
Who apparently only support filmmakers working in the specific genre they like, and who almost see getting paid for your creative work as, like, selling out.
Wow. That's a strong stand. It speaks to maybe a more traditional view of art.
Yeah, I think so. A view where art and commerce are seen as totally separate, almost opposing forces. The idea that money somehow taints the artistic vision.
But then reality hits, right? You make this film, you pour everything into it. How does it actually reach people beyond your friends and family if you don't think about distribution?
Exactly. That's where the artistic ideal bumps up against practical necessity.
You need a plan.
You do. And one source, Pollyanna, puts it really bluntly, a filmmaker is also a marketer. He is a brand builder.
So it's not a separate, maybe lesser task. It's part of the job now.
It's intrinsic to it, especially today. The source says, the day you decide you want to be a filmmaker is the day you become your own brand.
That's a big mental shift for a lot of creators, I imagine. Okay, let's pivot slightly. Let's talk about the practical stuff like business plans. This was actually kind of surprising.
Yeah, the business plans for filmmakers source was really eye-opening. It basically says that the kind of detailed business plan you'd write for, say, a tech startup, that's often not what major film financiers are looking for.
Not the studios or established production companies.
Or even most entertainment lenders, apparently. They're more focused on something called a producer's package.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, a producer's package tends to focus more on the creative elements, the script, the director, the key cast, the potential audience, rather than deep financial projections and market analysis like a traditional business plan.
So spending ages on a formal business plan might not actually help you get funding from the big players.
In many cases, no. The source points out its usefulness for raising money is pretty limited, mainly to a small group of active investors.
Active investors.
Right. And importantly, you legally can't use a business plan by itself to raise money from passive investors. For that, you need a proper securities disclosure document.
Okay, that sounds complicated. Lots of regulations there.
Absolutely. It's about investor protection, transparency, making sure people know what they're getting into. The source even warns about potential legal issues if you try to use a business plan alongside those disclosure documents.
Wow. Navigating film finance sounds like a minefield.
It can be very complex.
Yeah.
And that distinction between active and passive investors is critical. There was a case mentioned, Consolidated Management Group, LLC. It showed that even if you set up something like a joint venture, the investors have to be genuinely active in the decision-making, not just investors on paper. They need to be involved.
Okay, so if a traditional business plan isn't the main key to unlocking, say, studio funding, what's its actual purpose for a filmmaker? Does it have one?
Well, yes, it still has value. The document suggests it provides a structure for talking with investors, especially about how potential revenues might be shared, though that's always tricky to pin down.
So it's like a discussion framework.
Kind of. It helps you articulate your vision, your team, your understanding of the market, and how the money might flow based on certain assumptions. It lays out the groundwork.
It covers the usual things like an executive summary, who's involved, the market, financials.
Yeah, all the standard components.
Mm.
But, and this is key, those financial projections in a film plan, they're illustrating possibilities based on assumptions. They're not predicting the future, not guaranteeing box office success.
There's more scenario planning than forecasting.
Exactly. Which brings us back, really, to the filmmaker themselves. If the formal business plan has limits, what does help you break through?
It comes back to reputation, to that personal brand.
Precisely. Your brand is always working for you, whether you have a fancy business plan or not. One of our sources, Personal Branding for Filmmakers, puts it simply. Your brand reflects your reputation and enables you to stand out.
Stand out from the competition.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is having a unique perspective, right? It's not just making films, it's your take, your vision.
Yeah, and the HubSpot blog really echoed this. Even if your niche seems crowded, they say, people want to hear from your perspective, how you do things, how you tell stories, how you connect. That's what makes you different.
Consistency also seems really important. HubSpot mentioned being consistent in your content and how you communicate.
Absolutely, and Pollyanna reinforces that. Continuity is how people remember you, your product, and your message. You build recognition, build trust by being consistent over time.
You have to keep at it.
Yeah, stay focused and keep moving forward and building that brand. It's an ongoing process.
Okay, let's shift gears again and talk about some of the internal stuff, the psychological barriers, self-defeating behavior. This feels really relevant for creative people.
Oh, definitely. We looked at this piece, 10 Curious Ways We Self-Sabotage Our Creative Careers, and it talks directly about the fear of success.
Fear of success, that sounds weird.
It does sound counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. The anxiety about what happens after you achieve a big goal, the pressure, the scrutiny, having to live up to it, that can be a really powerful subconscious block.
Oh, I hadn't really thought of it that way. The description for that piece even said it's for anyone who has ever been afraid of succeeding. Yes, that's a real thing.
Yeah. It suggests it's more common than we might think. How many great ideas just stall because of that hidden fear?
Makes you wonder.
And it's not just fear of success. Pollyanna mentions other things too. Fear of failure, obviously, fear of the unknown, sometimes ego, arrogance, even just laziness or inertia.
Right. All these things can stop you.
And they can definitely show up as resistance to the business stuff or being unwilling to put yourself out there, manage your brand actively.
It's like it's maybe more comfortable to just focus on the creative part and avoid anything that feels like selling or promoting, even if it limits your reach.
Exactly. But just recognizing these patterns, acknowledging them, that's the first big step. So how do you actually overcome them? What practical advice did we find?
Well, Pollyanna had some pretty direct, almost tough love advice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you find that you are limiting yourself in this way, shut up and go shoot something, create something, reinvent yourself. Complaining doesn't serve you, your art, or anyone else.
Wow. Okay. So action is the antidote.
Pretty much. Stop complaining, start creating. The time spent whining could be used making something, making a difference.
That makes sense. Action builds momentum. And the source also suggested surrounding yourself with supportive people, right?
Yeah, hang around people that are more free and open in their thinking and who elevate each other. Your network matters.
That positive influence can make a huge difference.
And there was also this point about just the process of making films, even small ones. It teaches you stuff.
Like what?
Like self-reliance, humility when things go wrong, being flexible. You learn to adapt. And those skills build resilience against self-doubt.
So the act of creating itself helps you overcome the fear of creating, in a way.
Exactly. And ultimately, Pollyanna really stressed making a conscious choice.
A decision to succeed.
Yes. You must make a conscious decision that you will succeed. Once you believe it, you can achieve it. And also dedicating the necessary time. Decide to dedicate the time your dream needs and deserves.
Taking ownership, basically. Committing to the work.
Right. So as we kind of wrap up, it seems clear that this democratization, while exciting, has really pushed the need for filmmakers to manage their self-brand. It's how you'd seen now.
Yeah, we've looked at why some creatives resist that business side and how traditional business plans maybe aren't the golden ticket some think they are for film finance.
Their role is specific and maybe limited.
Right. And we've really highlighted how crucial personal branding is, building that reputation, finding your unique voice, connecting with people.
And we also touched on the psychology, those self-defeating habits that can hold you back. Fear of success, fear of failure.
And crucially, some actionable ways to push past those blocks. Taking action, finding supportive peers, making that conscious decision to commit.
And, this isn't just for filmmakers. Understanding your brand, overcoming those internal hurdles, these are skills that apply almost anywhere, right?
Absolutely. Any field where you need to stand out, pursue a passion, make your mark.
So that leaves us with a final thought for you to maybe chew on. In this world where anyone can create, anyone can put their work out there, what really separates the creators who thrive from those who just get lost in the noise?
What is the story you're telling about yourself and your work?
And how are you actively shaping that narrative, whatever your field might be? Something to think about. You can find more insights on navigating the entertainment industry and achieving success in Orlando Delbert's work, including his book, Pollyanna's Tear-Soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical, and of course, the Hollywood Unapologetic platform. And always remember, you are the key to your own success. You are the new Hollywood generation.
Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be great.
That's it. Be great. Good luck out there.
See you next time.